Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Little Shop of Nerds. I am Julia,
Mike, what's up?
and last week's hint was HASHIRA.
Yes, today we are going to talk about the newest season of Demon Slayer coming out. It's only 8 episodes, and before you say yes, there's only 4 seasons. I don't know why Crunchyroll broke the Mugen Train down to episodes. It's a movie, so
Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that either, but this is the 4th season. It may seem like fillers, but it is in the manga.
and warning: the first episode is 40 some minutes long, or is it 57?
Something like that.
And the last one is 48 minutes. And yes, you can see why, because it's going to be awesome when we talk about why.
Yeah. So, earlier this year they had come out with a movie, and I'm putting movie in quotation marks because really all it was just
The last episode of the Swordsmith Village arc and the beginning of the Hasha training arc.
yeah. So that was what the movie was. So not like a big movie or like a new movie or anything. We are actually waiting for actually we'll talk about that at the end. So we're just gonna hop right into it. So
Alright.
the first episode, it shows Sanemi and Obanai.
Yes, they're pretty much doing what they're doing. Track down a demon, trying to kill it. And this is when it freaking gets awesome. When they're trying to fight this demon, they're fighting so much, and the sliding door opens. You know, in the Japanese inns and stuff, they still.
Well, I mean, that comes at the end of the fight, though.
Well, either way, they're still fighting. It's going to get more and more and more. You get the point. Anyways, if you want to do the long route.
Well, they were trying to save. They were on a mission with a couple of other demon slayers. They were trying to find out why women were being kidnapped. There was one that was being kidnapped. They were trying to save her. They're fighting their way through the castle. They eventually get up to the top of the castle, where they do eventually save the woman. But then, like Mike says, the sliding doors open and they fall into the Infinity Castle.
Yeah, and Salami is a nut job, and
I low-key kind of like Sanemi.
yeah, he's a dick.
I
just
low-key like him.
And before you say anything, no, I don't like him as a character. Yes, he has a terrible backstory, and I can see why he's a dick, but I still don't like him as a character.
From what I heard is that he does kind of seem to even out a little bit later on in the series. So you may hate him now, but he may be one of those characters that you hate at first, but you might end up liking later on. I like him because he's voiced by Kaiji Tang. And Kaiji Tang is the English voice actor for Gojo from
There we
Jujutsu
go.
Kaisen. And he is also the English VA for Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. Which y'all pretty much know how much I love Gojo. I love yeah. So, anyways, we're just gonna get back into it. So they end up going to a Hashira meeting, and all the Hashira minus Rengoku, because Rengoku died in Mugen Train, are there to have a meeting, and something about if you remember from the Swordsmith Village arc in the last episode, I think it was the last couple of episodes, Tokito and Mitsuri had unlocked their Demon Slayer marks. And so they ask her Amanai, which is Kagaya's wife. She is saying that he is not able to show up anymore because he's too sick, too weak. So she was taking over. So it was her and their two daughters, and she, asked Mitsuri, like, what happened for you to unlock a mark? And she was just basically speaking nonsense.
And that's Mitsuri for you.
Yeah. And, like, everybody's looking at her like, what? And then Muichiro, or Tokito, was able to explain it, saying, like, he had to have, like, their heart rate had to be up, his fever. He had to have a fever. All this.
Yeah, like everything that pretty much caused their mark to go to half. Even we'll get to that later about his mark, Tanjiro's mark, but throughout all that,
yeah. So that's when they made the decision that they were going to have Hashira training to try to unlock as many marks as possible.
Yep.
Because there wasn't a whole lot of information on that, and there is a reason why. And I honestly do not remember if it is mentioned in this or because I have spoiled myself, even though, and I didn't do it intentionally, but I have spoiled myself, so I know more than Mike knows. I am currently reading the manga, but I'm still fairly early in the manga. I'm up to the point where they're fighting the spider demons in the first season. That's where I'm at in the manga, so...
Well, yes.
But, so, Sanemi and Gyu, they don't like each other. Because Sanemi believes that Gyu thinks that he is too good to be around them.
Sorry.
Because we'll actually get to why Gyu feels like that he doesn't belong with the Hashira. And it's not because that he thinks that he's better than everybody else. So, what?
I just was going to agree with you.
Oh, so they go ahead and they get, like, a training schedule going. Haganeska brings Tanjiro his newly formed sword.
The Destroyer.
Yeah, and completely just berates Tanjiro for using the sword without it being ready, because this was the sword that he did use to behead the upper four. I think it was the upper four demon.
Yeah. The dude who can split personality himself.
Yeah, the guy that I felt kind of bad for until I saw his backstory, and then I'm just kind of like...
He was just a common thief.
Yeah. So he gets the sword back.
And, yeah, he gets back, breaks him, and this is the funny part where it comes, right? Zenitsu comes back and sees Nezuko not burning in the sun. She's actually talking, not using the bamboo muscle. And he's like, oh, Nezuko. He's like, welcome back, Inosuke. And he's like,
he was like, Inosuke?
He gets.
He was so upset that because she was able to welcome him back, and he was like so excited. And then she's like, Inosuke. And then you see like this little scene of Inosuke teaching her to say, welcome back, Inosuke, over and over and over again. So then that's what she ended up saying to him, because as a demon, she still had to wear the bamboo thing and everything like that. Like, she couldn't speak.
And goes,
Yeah. And so now she's able to speak, and she was like, welcome back, Inosuke. And Zenitsu's all like upset because, this is the girl that he loves, which there's a reason why Zenitsu is the way that he is. And that's just because at the age of 13, he got taken advantage of by 7 women. They took all of his money, just basically led him on.
Getting him in the debts, and the guys who want him to pay off his debts put him in the demons to take him to his master to train him to be a demon slayer so he could pay off his debts.
Yeah, so the master that taught him his breathing technique paid off his debts, and he had to become a demon slayer to pay him back.
Yep.
And he was actually afraid of women there for a long time too. And Nezuko was the first one that he is basically love at first sight for him, and he isn't afraid of Nezuko, which is why he's so in love with her. So, like, if y'all hate Zenitsu, there's a reason why he is the way that he is. And I actually have a lot more love for Zenitsu than I actually did because I know of a little bit of his backstory. I'm not sure if they're going to get into that. So if they're going to talk about that, and because there will be movies, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So if they're going to mention this in the movies, I'm sorry for spoiling it for you guys, but
Yeah, and like I said, after we get through the whole Demon Slayer, maybe we'll make a playlist for you guys.
yeah. So, he's upset. And then they find out that they're going to have training. Zenitsu and Inosuke already go off to training, and Tanjiro is still healing. So, the first Hashira that I think everybody goes through is Tengen. So, they bring Tengen back to get up their stamina, and his wives are there cooking for them, and he basically the way that Tengen treats them is he's like, if you guys don't eat or finish eating, your training tonight's going to be longer or something like that.
He's pretty much acting like a drill sergeant, pretty much.
But he does want them to eat and grow stronger. So then, Tanjiro shows up to the training, and they're all buddy, and Tanjiro was no. Before that, goes and sees Giyu. I forgot about that.
Mr. Giyu.
Yeah, so he goes and sees Tomioka Giyu first. Because the Demon Slayer leader wants him to convince him to join the Hashira training army.
And this is when we and like Tanjiro is trying to get him to come do be the part of the training, do everything. And here's the thing, Ginyu wanted Tanjiro to be the water breathing Hashira or something like that.
The water Hashira.
But here's the thing. When you get throughout to after the first or second season, Tanjiro kept trying to do the water technique, but it kept hurting him and didn't feel right. That's when he does more of his sun breathing technique and everything. And even his master saying the reason of his black sword, why his sword turned black, meaning he was meant to try different styles and techniques.
And which Tanjiro can at least do 3 breathing techniques. He can do the water breathing, which is what he was trained on, the sun breathing, which he has just learned, and then he also did thunder breathing in the Swordsmith Village arc.
Yes.
So, and really, from what I've heard, is all of the different breathing techniques come from sun breathing. So sun breathing was the actual first breathing style of the Demon Slayers, and they all derive from the sun breathing, which they might talk about in the movies, but like I said, we'll get to the movies in a little bit.
But here's another thing, the reason why Ginyu doesn't want to be a Hashira, why he's not always at the meetings and everything, because he didn't feel like he earned the right, because when you're doing final selection, it says you need to survive. And if you survive after a certain amount of days, you're a Demon Slayer.
It's 7 days a week.
7 days a week?
Yeah, you have to survive 7 days.
So 1 week.
Yeah.
So if you survive in the 7 days, you're pretty much a Demon Slayer. But here's the thing. He didn't feel like that he earned it because his friend died and he didn't kill that much.
Yeah, so Sabito was if you guys remember in the first few episodes when Tanjiro was training to be a Demon Slayer and he had to break that boulder. And that one boy was there, that is Sabito. He was with Giyu in the final selection, but he was like the one doing all the work from what I was understanding, because I guess he was a really good Demon Slayer. But then when he ended up dying when he was trying to save someone, I think it was. So then with Giyu being the only water breather to survive, he was made Hashira. He was made the Hashira, but he just doesn't feel like that he deserves that spot.
Yes.
And he was hoping that Tanjiro would take over for him, so then he wouldn't have to
do it.
He wouldn't feel that guilt for having that position because he wanted Sabito to have that permission or that position.
Yeah, and this is also another reason we see Ginyu with two different patterns on his
his little hori, his little jacket thing that he wears.
Because it turns out one is from his sister's Komodo, right? And the other one is from
Sabito.
Sabito.
Yeah, because his sister died from demons protecting him, and she was supposed to get married shortly after she was. Okay, so she was supposed to get married, but she was killed shortly before that.
Yes, and no, Tanjiro keeps trying. He's not doing it, and Genyu's like, he's like, hey, and then he's like, I challenge you to what?
Eating, like an eating contest.
And he says if he. But here's the thing, Ginyu was gonna go anyway. He's like, just like humored him, and he does it,
Yeah.
Then he goes to Tengen.
Yeah, and then he goes through that. I actually completely skipped over the whole Giyu thing because that was the facial expressions on Tanjiro were absolutely hilarious. Because he just looked so happy to be there, and he tried so hard to get Giyu to do it, and he finally did. So, he goes to Tengen. He does manage to get through Tengen's training. And Tanjiro is just happy to be there. Like, he's smiling the whole entire time that he was training with Tengen.
Yeah, and this is also when it comes to Tanjiro's being nice. He's helping out. And the other Demon Slayers really love him, but there's times they don't know if they can. But somehow... Okay, if this took place modern time, his day job would have been like a fucking Tanjiro's day job would be like a motivational speaker. Be like, if you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Do your best. And then at night he's like, hunt demon time.
Yeah. So eventually Tanjiro does pass Tengen's course. So then he moves on to Tokito. And Tokito, if you remember, he's got that very stoic-looking face. But when Tanjiro's around, he's just like, Tanjiro, and he's so happy. And it's so hilarious watching him act so cold towards the other Demon Slayers.
Oh, yeah.
But he's just acting so happy around Tanjiro. So, I think Tanjiro spent, 2 weeks, or a week. It was either a week or 2 weeks with Tokito, and like the entire time they're just kind of like he's fighting with Tanjiro, and he's like, yeah, that's right, Tanjiro. Like, he's just super excited that he's fighting or that he's training with Tanjiro. But then we also find out that at nighttime, Obanai and Sanemi are training with each other, and then Tokito goes and joins in. So then it's like a three-way fight going on between them. And I guess Tokito was coming back in the mornings just covered in bruises from his fight with Sanemi. And some of the other Demon Slayers were noticing and taking notice and saying something to Tanjiro. And eventually they find out that Tokito likes to make paper airplanes. So he was like, hey, if I beat you in a paper airplane contest, we'll do 10 tries, and if I win at least one, then I think everybody else had to graduate from his class, I think is what it was. Or no, he had to be nicer, I think is what it was. So they do. Tanjiro fails miserably.
Yep.
But then everybody else joins in. So then they just have like a little flat, a paper airplane contest with everybody. One of the guys from the Swordsmith Village arc actually now lives at Tokito's place.
Yes.
And he makes him like a bunch of different swords. That was also the same guy that made Inosuke swords that Inosuke broke when he got his new swords.
Oh, when he makes them into salt teeth.
Yeah.
And besides that, I think, was it after Tokito? What was it after?
Tokito, he went to...
Was it? What?
I can't remember if it was... I think it was Mitsuri.
Mitsuri! And when he gets there, she's like, Tanjiro. And she's like naming all foods that it's like, what's French toast? And
it was pancakes.
It's like, what's pancakes? And then she's like, honey and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, you forget he's born in the mountains.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, because I mean...
And this is mostly Western food.
Yeah, and because this takes place in the Taisho era, which is basically 1920s Japan, roughly. Like the 18-something to the 1920s.
Yes.
So it's a good possibility that pancakes wasn't widely known over there at this time. I don't know when pancakes became a thing over there, because now everybody knows what Panakeku, I think is how they said, or something like that.
It's not that.
Keku is cake, I know that.
I do know, what about those jiggly pancakes that you see in Japan?
Those are pancakes.
I want to try those.
I do too.
Anyways.
I'm going to learn how to make them.
Back to the thing.
Yeah, so,
then
her training is flexibility.
Oh.
So, he looks happy to be there, and they're all wearing, like, leotards. And he's just happy to be there.
And they're doing, what, ballet stuff almost?
Ballet stuff,
I get
flexibility.
I get the ballet stuff, but wouldn't it be, if flexibility, shouldn't it be more like yoga, too?
Yeah, but, she did something where, she was sitting there in front of Tanjiro's, partner, and she's like, yeah, we're gonna get you all, like, flexible, and, like, he's, like, super happy, like, the guy, Tanjiro's partner was, like, super happy, and he, because, you know, Mitsuri everybody loves Mitsuri because she's hot. And,
well, mostly because of her tits are hanging out.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a story about her outfit.
Yeah, because some pervy guy who makes the uniforms and the dude with the snake. I know you know the name, but Obanai, because I'm always bad at the name. Like, I'm bad saying the names. Obanai gives her the green socks and...
Yeah, because she felt very exposed. So he gave her the green socks to help her feel more confident. She didn't feel so exposed. She was too polite to turn down the uniform. Shinobu, on the other hand, she burned her uniform.
Oh,
because they tried to give her the exact same uniform and she burned it.
Smart for her. For her.
Yeah.
And that's why she's one of my favorite characters there.
So, he does end up passing her course,
and he goes to Obanai.
And now Mitsuri had sent Obanai a letter talking about how good Tanjiro was and how she shared all this food with him. So now he's already pissed.
And here's the thing: Obanai has a crush on Mitsuri, and
it's pretty obvious at this point. I think.
Yeah, and once he gets there, he's like.
Yeah, he's not too happy. He basically wanted to destroy Tanjiro.
And you know Tanjiro, in that fashion, he will train and train until he actually wins. And pretty much how he's training, Obanai's training is like in a really close-off space. You gotta learn how to attack certain spaces that you can't reach.
Yeah, and there were demon slayers, like, tied to the posts and stuff, and those were the ones I think that were failing to do what he had to. And the way that Tanjiro did eventually get through it, but what it was I think he had to cut a piece of his coat, of Obanai's coat, which he didn't manage to cut a piece, but he did manage to make a cut into it. And then Obanai is basically just like, okay, you can go now.
And
get out of my face.
And he's like, don't ever talk to Mitsuri again.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, calm down. If you love her, just tell how you feel. I don't understand that in every anime. But okay,
I know the reason why.
I get because
and I'm not going to spoil it because that comes in the movies.
Okay,
I can spoil you later, but I'm not going to spoil our lovely viewers.
Okay, either way, then we go to Mr. Dickhead.
Zenitsu is trying to escape.
Because Sanemi is pretty much a dick. Like I said, training him, he's not really good at training because he's always pissed off.
Yeah, he's a dick to everybody.
And this is the funniest part, where he's like, I'm not going to respect. He sees Tanjiro, he's like, I'm not going to respect you, and because he's like, that's fine, I don't respect you either. He's like, what? Really? He's like, yeah, you're the one who stabbed Nezuko.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he just kind of just walks off, like nothing, and Sanemi, is already pretty much pissed off. So, Genya is actually there. So, we see this scene between them, where Genya is trying to talk to Sanemi, and, well, before that, they try to get through the training's rough, Tanjiro's worried that he's not gonna, he's not, learning anything because it's just too tough for him to get through.
Because Genya's not a good Sanemi is not a good teacher because he won't explain shit.
Yeah, so Genya is trying to talk to Sanemi, and Tanjiro stumbles upon this, and Genya's like, brother, and he's like, I don't have a brother. Sanemi says that. And then he goes, well, I started eating demons, so I could help you. And then Sanemi's like, you did what? And because he doesn't like the fact, apparently he didn't like the fact that when Genya ate demons, it turned him into a demon temporarily.
Yeah, and it healed him. He didn't die. And that's when, he's ready to beat the shit out of Genya, and Tanjiro gets in this middle of it.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. He's trying to fight off Sanemi and Genya because Genya's trying to get Tanjiro off Sanemi, and truth be told, Sanemi deserved it. Come on.
Yeah.
And after that, his training was suspended. But in my opinion, I'm like, well, come on, Sanemi kind of deserved it.
Yeah. Because, Genya just wanted, he wanted to make up with his brother after what happened to their mother and their other siblings. And he wanted to make up for what was going on. Because, Genya cannot use breathing techniques, so he just uses a gun. Which I would love to see Inosuke with his gun. Can you just imagine, the chaos Inosuke would cause with Genya's gun?
He'd be like, again!
There are actually a lot of things on YouTube, where people have made, animations and stuff where Inosuke has Genya's gun and has used Genya's gun, so y'all should look that up because those are absolutely hilarious.
And this is when we get to the Stone Hashira. Now she gets.
No, I can't say it. It was
Agime.
No, Hima. Oh gosh, now I can't. Now I can't even. Hold on, I'm looking it up because now I can't even pronounce his name. Guillaume. There we go. Guillaume. I just remembered.
Mr. Guillaume. And have you seen the first season? The last episode of the first season, or was the second to the last? But you get the point. When you see the Hashiras, you see Mr. Guillaume. He's always have his hands in a prayer moment,
and he's blind.
He's blind
and
crying, and he has the beads around him, like he's actually a monk warrior.
But that actually kind of makes sense when we learn about his backstory, because we do actually learn about his backstory here. So they arrive, and at this point, I do believe it is freezing outside. It's either early winter or late winter or early spring when it's still really, really cold, because they're all standing under a waterfall. So they have to be able to stand under this waterfall for 2 hours straight. Then they're able to move on to the next one, which they had to lift up this big giant ass bowl.
No, they didn't lift it up. They had to push it.
No, because they had something with a log that they had to lift up.
Yeah, it was log.
Then it was the boulder that they had to push.
Yeah, because remember, it was. I did notice they had to be under the waterfall doing that whole I always was a praying technique or something.
Yeah.
What I don't know what it is.
I don't remember what they were saying.
I do know they do it in anime and any Japanese.
I know they did it in Naruto, where Naruto was under a waterfall practicing, and I do believe it was in Naruto Shippuden.
Well, either way,
he sounded like that he was constipated during that. But
if you guys know what it is, put it in the comments. But they do it in every anime or martial arts film.
Yeah. So it turns out that the water apparently is really, really cold and apparently it's really, really cold outside. And Maruta, which is I don't remember when he was one of the dudes that almost got turned into a spider, I do believe, in the first season. He was actually with Sabito and Giyu in Final Selection.
Yep.
So he was there, and he was like, hey, if you guys lay on the rocks are kind of warm, and it makes you feel warmer because the sun was warming up the rocks. So everybody's, like, laying over the rocks. Eventually, Zenitsu... Oh, Inosuke is there. He's already there doing it. So.
Yes, and pretty much, I think Zenitsu came with Tanjiro.
Yeah, Zenitsu came with Tanjiro. He left with... When they got kicked out of out of Sanemi's class or his training, Zenitsu he sent Zenitsu with them because Zenitsu is his friend. Oh, and they were all the other Demon Slayers were also fighting with Sanemi too before they got kicked out. So then they left.
And
so Inosuke is actually the first one out of the trio to progress to the not the boulder. He did the log and then he did the boulder, but he was having trouble with the boulder. Then it was Tanjiro was able to progress. He was able to lift up the log, and then he also moved on to the boulder. And then Zenitsu eventually also moved on to the boulder.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to do the boulder. They can't do it. Most of them quit. Ginyu was there. Genya came, you know. He's just trying to be nice, polite about it, and also trying to understand where his brother's coming from, but knowing there's no reason. And
yeah, he was able to give Tanjiro some sort of pointers because apparently what Genya wanted was he wanted to become Guillaume's apprentice because what they can do, because this is how Mitsuri was actually Rengoku's apprentice, and that's how she was able to develop her, because with Rengoku, from what I've heard, Rengoku's training was really, really tough, but she was able to get through it. She was able to develop her own breathing style, love breathing, and then she was able to become a Hashira. Mm-hmm. That's how she became a Hashira, was because she trained under Rengoku, who was already a Hashira. So, Genya wanted to train under Guillaume because he wanted to become a Hashira so he could be near his brother. But Guillaume said that he couldn't take him because he didn't have a breathing technique, I do believe, is why he couldn't take him.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He couldn't take him. It was an apprentice. No, because he did take Genya as his apprentice, but not the one to where they could become a Hashira. And so eventually, he gives, since Genya can't use breathing techniques, he has to use some other techniques to try to push the boulder. And he gave some of those to Tanjiro. Now, Tanjiro was kind of like the mother of the group because he's doing all the cooking.
Cooking's always nice, telling everyone to eat up. And here's the thing. Even Genya said his scar on his forehead was getting bigger and everything. And you can tell throughout the whole season, his scar became different. And Tanjiro said, I don't know how I got it. And he just said, well, one was he burned his head on a teapot or a stove.
Yeah, like he was playing with his brothers or something like that, and like a hot kettle or teapot or something fell on his forehead, and that's how he got it. But during the entertainment district, it glowed.
It glowed, it changed. And some say he doesn't have the mark, but yet...
That is his mark, though. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, but I don't...
Y'all, like...
Everyone on the internet...
Everybody pretty much knows that is his mark. That's his Demon Slayer mark.
But yeah, people on the internet says he doesn't have it. I'm like, that forehead is his mark.
That is his mark. That is his Demon Slayer
You guys
mark.
are idiots. And I'm like, well, either way, right? It changes,
Yeah, Genya mentions that.
And Tanjiro starts moving the boulder. He's doing it. The mark's changing and everything. And
he finally moves it to where he needed to.
And when Nosuke sees it, he's like, I cannot have him outshake me. He's like...
Yeah, but Tanjiro does manage to do it. And then he ended up doing it so hard that he dehydrated himself. Guillaume was actually there and was able to give him water, and then he told Tanjiro about his backstory.
And this is the saddest one.
This is really sad. Now, Guillaume was actually a teacher. He was taking care of some orphans in this temple. And he always tried to make sure that the kids had more to eat than he did. And there was like this little 4-year-old girl who wanted him to have her food because she's like, you're not having enough. And he's like, no, he's like, you need it more than I do because you need to,
grow big,
grow big and strong. And, he loved these children. Like, he was just so happy, and I think he was like, I want to say he was like 18 or something at the time. And like he loved these children, and he knew about demons, so he always had like these wisteria incenses outside to protect them, and he always made sure that the children were back before nightfall. Well, one of the children, which when you do watch this, remember this little asshole, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to see... Spoiler alert, you will see him again.
Yes.
Mike doesn't know.
He told me.
Did I tell? Okay, yeah, I already told Mike. Yeah, so you'll see this little asshole again. But he, basically, he ran into a demon. The demon told him, hey, if you... I will spare your life if you let me have access to to that temple with all the children and everything. So he goes and he destroys the wisteria incense things, and the demon goes in, and the demon starts killing all the children, except for 4 of them. Guillaume is trying to protect these 4 children. Well, 3 of the 4 ran past him, and they ended up getting killed. And then Guillaume actually ends up fighting off the demon. He beats the shit out of the demon.
Until sunrise.
And you know that at sunrise, the demons disappear. They turn into dust. And the police they show up, and they arrest Guillaume, thinking that he was the one that killed them all. Because the little girl that ended up surviving, she tried to say, or she said that it was a monster that did it, and they all thought that she was talking about Guillaume. But with her being 4 years old, it's kind of hard for her to articulate exactly what it was. Because, I mean, there's no proof that the demon was there after sunrise.
Yeah, and pretty much...
before we go on, there is a little, like, thing somewhere saying how as she got older, she felt really bad about that because she was trying to say that it wasn't Guillaume, that there was an actual monster there, but they thought that she was talking about Guillaume, and she felt really bad that she wasn't able to articulate that because they were going to execute Guillaume. because they thought that he was the one that killed the all those children. But Kagaya stepped in and he was like, "Why don't you become a demon slayer?" And at that point, Kagaya was 14 years old. Kagaya is the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, so he's the dude with the
messed up
face, basically.
And then the last episode.
Yeah. So, Tanjiro was on his way to go to Gyu's training at that point. And you see Zenitsu sitting on top of a boulder. And what he had done was he had received a letter, which I'm not going to tell you guys what the letter says, because then that would ruin what's going to be coming up. But he looked serious, which, if you remember, Zenitsu's kind of like a comic relief character, kind of like how Inosuke is kind of like a comic relief character. And you know that Zenitsu can only, no, I'll bring that up in, when we talk about the last episode. So Tanjiro goes off on his own to Gyu's training. And then, runs into Sanemi and Gyu. They're, sparring. And then that night, Sanemi is walking home because he's pissed off at Tanjiro. And he finds this eye on him.
And turns out the demons have been spying on them.
Yeah. And because they have been talking about how they haven't seen any demons ever since Nezuko conquered the sun, because they were trying to they got Lady Tamayo. I forgot about that. They brought Lady Tamayo to the Demon Slayer headquarters to work with Shinobu to find a cure to turn people back into humans from demons. Yes. So I completely forgot that they brought her in, because you see her in the first episode where she's like, okay, it was first, and I think the beginning of the second, she's like, okay, we're going to the Demon Slayer headquarters, and Yushiro is like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I don't feel any hostility. So Shinobu doesn't look too happy that she has to work with Tamayo, but so anyways, he finds out that because there have been eyes spying on them the entire season, and he finds out, he's like, oh shit, we've been infiltrated, and Muzan shows up at Kagaya's estate.
Yep, and this is when shit hits the fan.
It is literally lit. Muzan goes up and he's talking to Kagaya.
And he's not attacking his daughters, his wife, or anything.
They're just having a conversation, and they're talking about everything.
And his daughters are just passing the ball back and forth. I'm like...
And they're singing a really creepy song.
Kind of like... Was it in harmony with each other?
I think so, yeah.
Kind of like in The Shining with the twins.
Yeah.
Forever and ever.
Yeah, so we find out that the head of the Yuba Yashiki family, basically Kagaya's family, we find out that they are cursed because a member of their family, one of their ancestors, I think a branch, became a demon, which is Muzan. So Muzan and Kagaya are distantly related to each other. And so the heads of the family of the Demon Slayers, they don't live past the age of 30 because of the curse. So what they've been doing is over the years, as the heads of the family grow up, they end up marrying monks' daughters. So I guess that helped a little bit, if I remember correctly. So he actually, I do think that they have shown that Kagaya does have 5 children.
Yep.
So there's only 2 of them. which it turns out that it's the oldest two. And they're talking, and Kagaya is basically about to die. He's like on his deathbed at that point. His wife is there taking care of him. She shows no fear. The children are showing no fear. And Muzan is like, why are there no guards here? He goes, I only sense the presence of these two and the two children. There's nobody else.
Yeah, because you would think it'd be a sneak, like a 1,000 demon slayers ready to attack. Oh, no.
Yeah. So what happens is the fucking estate blows up, killing Kagaya, his wife, and his two children.
And this makes a big blast. It made
they freaking blew the budget on this.
It made a big blast. There was a big dust cloud coming.
Yeah, and at this point, all the Hashira, including Tanjiro, are rushing to the estate to save Kagaya because they're like, oh shit, we need to protect. Oh, you see all of them but Guillaume. But all the others are rushing to help Kagaya because they're like, we need to protect him. So they are not aware that Muzan is already there. Muzan is already there. Muzan gets blown up. He regenerates, of course.
And we see Guillaume's...
Well, before that, Tamayo shows up.
Yep.
And she, punches him in the stomach or whatever.
With the help neutralize the turn into a demon.
Yeah, his demon, it's to neutralize his demonness or whatever. And so then there was another blood demon art that was used with spikes, and apparently that was from the guy that he turned into a demon when he ran into Tanjiro. So it was his blood demon art that they were able to get from him. So he wasn't actually physically there, but they were able to get it somehow.
And then Guillaume.
Oh man!
This is when we see his actual. He does not use a katana.
He uses a mace.
A mace/axe.
Calm down, Mike.
It was so freaking awesome. It was remember how Tenjin swords were? It was that, but one was a mace and one was an axe.
Yeah, and he moves pretty fast for being how big that he is. And he does manage to cut off Muzan's head. But the thing with that is Muzan doesn't die from that.
No.
So all the other demon slayers show up because they see the blast. Because that was a big blast. And they see it. And they show up. And they see him. And they see Tamayo with her hand in his gut. Doing a donut. And Guillaume yells, this is him, this is Muzan. He goes, he does not die from having his head cut off. He's like, we need to keep him here until sunrise to kill him. And so they're all starting to join in with doing their different breathing art or breathing arts, and then ding, the sliding doors open below them.
And here's the thing, and they all go down to the Infinity Cast.
It started, then it shows you Demon Slayers, it shows you Inosuke, it shows you Genya, it shows you Zenitsu, it shows you everybody falling into the Infinity Castle.
Yeah, you know what's funny? When Inosuke...
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
When Inosuke falls, he's like, yeah.
Yeah, he was super excited. And then we see Zenitsu. Zenitsu is falling head first, and his eyes are closed. So then you think that he's asleep. He opens them, and he has, every time I see it, he has this most determined look on his face. I get goosebumps every single time that I see it. And there is a hint on who dies. I am not going to give you that hint, because I don't want to spoil it for you.
And, yeah.
But there is a hint on who will be dying. I'm not even going to tell Mike. I don't even think I've told Mike. I'm not going to tell Mike because I don't want to spoil it for him either. But there is a hint, and I just want to see if you guys can figure it out.
In the end of every Demon Slayer episode, they have this little stage show and tell you little facts, fun facts about the characters or something. I think they had something to do with that. I forget what it was. For the last episode.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So, they're all falling into the Infinity Castle, and then that's when it stops.
Yes.
So at the end, they've done this with every season and with every episode. They do a Taisho era secret. So the ones that they did for the Hashira training arc was talking about Hashira, and the last one he talked to Mitsuri. And he talked a little bit about Mitsuri, and then she was like, well, since we're talking about all the Hashira, I think that we should talk about Rengoku as well. And Tanjiro was like, that's a good idea. So we come to find out that Rengoku's favorite food was miso sweet potato soup or something like that. And then you hear him talking in the background, like off stage. And I cried because, Rengoku's my favorite. So that is actually the Hashira training arc. There are going to be 3 movies for the Infinity Castle.
And that will take a long time.
Yeah, the first one, from what I understand, is we're going to get one every year. So we're not going to see the third one until like 2028 or 2027, something like that.
Well,
but we will get our first, we will be getting information on the demons, on Infinity Castle, come December 22nd, is when we will get information on the movies. So there's supposed to be 3 movies, and then I think there's actually another season after that, but I'm not 100% sure. But they are splitting the Infinity Castle arc into movies. Just, to me, it makes more sense that they would split it into make it into movies.
I agree.
And they're splitting it into 3.
I agree. It's better than like how they did with The Walking Dead. Like they took like the last 10th season, split it into 3 parts. I'm like, why don't you just make it into a TV movie?
I just hope that this doesn't turn into what they did with Attack on Titan, because like that final season just kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
I do need to sit down and watch it again.
And spoiler alert, it's all about completing a cycle.
Yeah. So that is the Hashira training arc. We will not be having any more Demon Slayer content until the first part
of the Infinity Castle.
Yeah, comes out. So once that comes out, we will definitely have a video for you on that. After we have gone we'll probably go to the movie theater. We'll probably go with our friend Kelly, because Kelly likes Demon Slayer too.
Yeah, and so far, and yeah, that's it. Before we head out, we just want to say we shot up our last episode.
It was a Cinderella, or another Cinderella story.
2 weeks ago, our episode of Cinderella story got up to 152 views, and we got up to 2 subscribers. Guys, we need like 5 more so we can do this special project for you.
Yeah. The special project will take a while for us to do,
and
to get it set up.
You got to be patient, and because this is going to be really big, we need to get the equipment, and also getting a lot of information and videos, because
pictures, that type of thing.
This is going to take a long time, so bear with us when we do bring it.
Yeah. So if you guys know somebody who might like to listen to us, who likes this type of thing. Because when we do get up to 50 subscribers, we will also show you what we look like.
Yes.
So, right now I look like a scuzzball, but I'll make sure that I will look extra cute for y'all.
Yeah.
Because, people like that when you look cute.
Hey, you ever heard of the saying, never put a lipstick on a bear or a pig?
Are you saying I look like a pig, Mike?
No, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, Mike does look like a pig.
Trust me. Trust me. You can try to put me in the suit. I'm still not going to look that handsome for you.
Anyway, so yeah, we just need 5 more subscribers, guys. So if you can get us those 5 subscribers, we'll love you forever.
Yep, and comment, and also if you got something to us that you want us to review, put it in the comments.
Yep. So, I am going to give you guys next week's hint. And next week's hint is toxic love. I'm super excited to be talking about this one.
Yes, yo, come back.
Yep. So we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.